The Galactic Assembly's Grand Council Hall on Viridia Prime gleamed under the light of twin suns. Massive arches of iridescent mineral stretched overhead, designed to accommodate the 12 species that had found a delicate harmony in the cosmos. Banners of unity hung from crystalline rafters, each bearing the sigil of a member race, the oldest dating back 3 millennia, the newest barely a decade old. That newest banner bore the emblem of Earth. Ambassador Leanna Ross stood at the window of her private chamber, adjacent to the hall, watching the dance of diplomatic vessels in high orbit. Her reflection revealed a woman of 53 Earth years, silver streaking through her close-cropped dark hair, sharp eyes, missing nothing. She wore the white and blue robes that had become humanity's trademark in the Assembly, colors chosen to represent peace and reason. The irony wasn't lost on her. "They're gathering early," she noted to the room's other occupant, though her gaze remained fixed on the alien ships. "The Procyon delegation usually arrives last." General Diana Kess nodded, her military uniform a stark contrast to the ambassador's flowing garments. "They're anxious. They all are. News of the research station has them spooked." Leanna finally turned from the window. "And our fleet?" "Holding position in the shadow of Viridia's third moon. Weapons powered down, stealth systems engaged." The general's voice remained neutral, professional. "As ordered." "Let's hope they stay that way." A soft chime signaled it was time. Leanna straightened her robes and adopted the serene expression that had become her diplomatic signature. She had spent years cultivating humanity's image as the galaxy's idealists, learned philosophers who had overcome their violent past to join the stars as peacekeepers and mediators. It was a narrative that had served Earth well. "Remember," General Kess said softly as they approached the council chamber doors, "what they don't know can't frighten them." Leanna nodded once, sharply. The existence of Earth's hidden armada was humanity's greatest secret, and their ultimate insurance policy. After centuries of technological advancement, conducted in isolation before joining the Assembly, humanity possessed weapons capabilities that would terrify their allies if revealed. The diplomatic corps walked a delicate line, promoting peace while knowing that, if necessary, Earth could unleash devastation unlike anything the galaxy had seen in millennia. The massive doors slid open with a whisper, revealing the semicircular chamber beyond. 12 raised platforms formed a crescent around a central speaking area. Each platform accommodated the physiological needs of its species. The methane-breathing Halvorians in their sealed environment, the massive Atrians requiring reinforced supports, the aquatic Nerai in their liquid suspension fields. As Leanna took her place on the human platform, she noted the atmosphere in the room, tense, cold, unlike the usual measured civility. Representatives glanced at the human delegation with expressions ranging from suspicion to outright hostility. Only Elder Terral of the Atrians, ancient even by his species' standards, offered a slight nod of acknowledgement. His massive, stone-like features betrayed little emotion, but Leanna had learned to read the subtle flicker of his crystalline eyes. There was concern there, perhaps even sympathy. The Council's arbiter, a neutral artificial intelligence interface through a hovering array of light projections, chimed to signal the session's beginning. "This emergency session of the Galactic Assembly is now convened," the arbiter announced, its voice modulated to be comfortably perceived by all species present. "The matter before us concerns the destruction of Research Station Epsilon, resulting in the deaths of 843 individuals of various member species." A holographic projection appeared in the chamber's center, the shattered remains of what had once been a massive orbital laboratory. The station had been positioned in neutral space, dedicated to shared scientific advancement. Its destruction had sent shockwaves through the Assembly. "Evidence has been presented," the arbiter continued, "suggesting human involvement in this act of terrorism." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Leanna's face remained impassive, though her hands gripped the edge of her podium. "We request that this evidence be shared openly," she said, her voice clear and unwavering. Humanity categorically denies any involvement in this atrocity and mourns with all member species for the lives lost. The representative of the Solari Conclave, a being of pure energy contained within an ornate, mechanical shell, moved forward. Ambassador Zhen's voice crackled with barely contained emotion. Preliminary analysis of the explosion residue indicates xenotech signatures consistent with human military ordnance. Furthermore, communications intercepted in the vicinity shortly before the attack contain encrypted patterns associated with Earth-based transmissions. The evidence appeared in holographic form, chemical compositions, signal patterns, trajectory analyses. To the untrained eye, it might seem damning. But Liana noticed inconsistencies immediately. "These findings are circumstantial at best," she responded. "The xenotech signatures show markers that could be replicated by anyone with access to our published scientific journals. As for the communication patterns, they lack the authentication protocols that all official human transmissions would contain." She stood taller, addressing the entire council. "Humanity joined this assembly with open hearts and minds. We have contributed to peacekeeping missions across 3 sectors. We have shared medical advances that have saved millions of lives. Why would we destroy a research station that housed some of our own brightest minds?" The Halvorian representative's translation unit hummed before projecting speech. "Perhaps because the station was about to announce a breakthrough in detecting cloaked vessels, a technology that would render certain hidden assets observable." Liana felt ice form in her stomach. The reference was too specific to be coincidental. Someone knew, or suspected, about Earth's secret fleet. Before she could respond, her secure communicator vibrated against her wrist. A message from Earth Central Command. "Additional intel incoming. Stall." "The Halvorian delegation makes an interesting supposition," Liana said smoothly. "But one based on speculation rather than evidence. I propose we conduct a joint investigation team with representatives from all council species before rushing to judgment." Ambassador Rix of the Corvani stepped forward, his avian features sharp and predatory. "While the human ambassador calls for delays, more evidence emerges." He gestured, and new holographic data appeared. Surveillance from a commercial vessel captured this before the explosion. The image showed what appeared to be a small craft of human design approaching the station. Liana narrowed her eyes. The vessel's configuration was outdated, the kind decommissioned decades ago. Either someone was using ancient human technology, or the footage had been fabricated. That vessel bears registration markings that haven't been used since before Earth joined the assembly, she pointed out. "This proves nothing except that someone wishes to frame humanity. Or that human separatists are responsible," countered Rix. "Elements within your own society perhaps dissatisfied with your government's pacifistic stance." The chamber erupted in overlapping voices. Accusations and demands for sanctions flew across the space. Liana remained still, her mind racing. Earth had enemies. Certainly, any rising power did. But this level of coordination suggested something more sinister. The arbiter chimed for order. "A motion has been proposed for immediate sanctions against Earth, pending a full investigation. The motion includes temporary suspension of human voting rights within the Assembly and restrictions on human vessel movements beyond their sovereign space." Liana's communicator vibrated again. "Earth intelligence confirms forgery. Evidence being transmitted to your secure terminal." She stepped forward. "Before this motion is considered, I request a brief recess to present new information that has just arrived from Earth." The arbiter paused, then nodded. "A 1-hour recess is granted. The Council will reconvene for presentation of this new evidence and voting on the proposed sanctions." As the delegates filed out, General Kess moved closer to Liana. "They're testing us," the general whispered. "This is a coordinated attempt to either expose our fleet or force us to stand down while they prepare for something worse." Liana's eyes scanned the departing representatives. But who? And why now? The timing coincides with the Frontier Expansion Treaty signing next week. If Earth is under sanctions, we lose our voice in determining the new neutral zones. In her private chamber, Liana reviewed the data from Earth. Analysis confirmed what she had suspected. The surveillance footage had been altered. The xenotech signatures artificially manufactured. But proving this to a council already predisposed to suspicion would be difficult. A soft knock at her door revealed Elder Terral. The ancient Atrian had to duck to enter the human-sized doorway. Ambassador Ross. His deep voice rumbled like distant thunder. I come as a friend. Liana gestured to a reinforced seat designed for Atrian physiology. Your friendship has always been valued, Elder. The massive being settled his stone-like form carefully. There are currents moving beneath the surface of this crisis. My sources indicate the Corvani have been unusually active in the militarized zone near the Outer Rim. Ambassador Rix himself has taken 3 undocumented trips to that region in recent months. The Corvani have always been ambitious, Liana noted. But this level of deception seems extreme, even for them. Ambition when married to opportunity creates temptation few can resist. Terrell's crystalline eyes flickered. The research station was close to a breakthrough in quantum entanglement communication, technology that would render conventional encryption obsolete, making our secure communications vulnerable, Liana realized. But that doesn't explain framing humans for the attack, doesn't it? Your species is the newest to join our assembly. Your homeworld is distant from the galactic core. If conflict were to erupt, isolating Earth first would be strategically sound. The implications were clear. This wasn't just about discrediting humans. It was the opening move in something larger, more dangerous. When the council reconvened, the chamber felt even more hostile. Liana presented Earth's analysis of the fabricated evidence, but was met with skepticism. Convenient that your experts can refute evidence from across interstellar distances, Ambassador Rix remarked. Perhaps they are as skilled at manipulation as they are at analysis. The debate grew heated. Despite Liana's best efforts and Terrell's occasional supportive interjections, the mood of the council was turning against Earth. When the vote for sanctions came, it failed by a single vote, Terrell's casting the deciding ballot against. This is merely a postponement, Rix hissed to Liana as the session ended. Your kind has no place among the stars. You bring only your barbarian history with you, disguised beneath scholars' robes. Liana met his gaze without flinching. History judges all species. Ambassador. None are without darkness in their past. Some darkness never fades, he replied cryptically before sweeping away. Over the next 48 hours, the situation deteriorated rapidly. 3 more pieces of evidence emerged, each more damning than the last. Someone had gone to extraordinary lengths to implicate Earth in the station's destruction. Then came the devastating blow. During an emergency session, Ambassador Rix presented what he claimed was a decoded transmission from Earth's military command, ordering the attack on the research station. The transmission included technical details that only someone with intimate knowledge of human military protocols could know. This goes beyond circumstantial evidence, Rix declared to the stunned council. This is proof of Earth's duplicity. They present themselves as peacekeepers, while harboring weapons and ambitions that threaten us all. Liana's protests that the transmission was another fabrication fell on increasingly deaf ears. Even Terral seemed troubled by the mounting evidence. A new vote was called. This time, the sanctions passed overwhelmingly. Only Terral and the representative of the enigmatic Velen abstained. Earth vessels are hereby restricted to their sovereign space, the arbiter announced. Human representation on all assembly committees is suspended, pending a full investigation. A delegation will be sent to Earth to inspect their military capabilities and ensure compliance. The final words struck Liana like a physical blow. An inspection would reveal the hidden armada, exactly what someone wanted. As the council dispersed, General Kess received an urgent communication. Her face paled as she read it. "What is it?" Lyanna asked when they were alone. "Assembly military vessels have begun positioning themselves near our colony worlds. Not just Corvani ships, a coalition force. They're claiming it's to maintain peace, but their weapon systems are powered and ready." Lyanna felt the weight of billions of human lives settling onto her shoulders. "They're forcing our hand. Either we reveal our fleet to protect the colonies, or we appear weak and invite attack." "There's more," the general said grimly. "We've intercepted communications suggesting the inspection team headed to Earth has orders to disable our planetary defense grid once they're inside the system." The realization struck with horrible clarity. This wasn't just about discrediting humanity or exposing their military secrets. It was the prelude to invasion. Back in her quarters, Lyanna paced as she conducted a secure video conference with Earth's Security Council. The faces of humanity's leadership looked grim on the holographic display. "We have 12 hours before the inspection team departs for Earth," the president said. "Once they enter our system, we lose the element of surprise if we need to deploy the fleet. And our colonies have less than 36 hours before they're essentially blockaded," added the defense minister. "Ambassador, we need your assessment. Is diplomatic resolution still possible?" Lyanna wanted desperately to offer hope, but the evidence before her was clear. "I believe we're facing a coordinated effort to either neutralize Earth as a power or provoke us into an action that would justify military response. Either way, they want us isolated and vulnerable. Then we have no choice." The president concluded. "General Kess, transmit the authentication codes. The fleet will move to protect our colonies, but with strict engagement protocols. No first strikes. Defensive posture only." "And the inspection team?" Lyanna asked. "Will be politely but firmly denied entry to Earth space until this crisis is resolved." After the conference ended, Lyanna sat in silence for a long moment. Everything she had worked for, humanity's peaceful integration into the galactic community, was unraveling. Yet somewhere in the tangled web of deception, the truth remained hidden. "We're missing something," she said to General Kess. "Why go to such lengths to frame us? Why not simply attack if that was the intention all along?" "Legitimacy," the general replied. "The Assembly has maintained peace for centuries through its collective authority. Breaking that peace comes at a high cost, unless you can claim justification." Lyanna's secure terminal chimed with an incoming message. Priority encryption, originating from an anonymous source within the Assembly Zone network. She hesitated before opening it. The message was brief. "Surveillance footage from Research Station Epsilon. Secure Laboratory 7. 12 hours before destruction. Truth lies in shadow." Attached was a video file. Lyanna and Kess watched in silence as the footage showed a laboratory where several scientists worked. In the background, barely visible in the poor lighting, a figure moved with deliberate purpose. The camera angle changed, offering a glimpse of the intruder, the distinctive profile of a Corvani. "Rix," Kess wondered aloud. "No," Lyanna said, enhancing the image. "The plumage pattern is different, but definitely Corvani." The figure placed something behind a panel, then departed. The timestamp showed this occurring 10 hours before the station's destruction. "We need to get this to the council immediately," Lyanna said, rising to her feet. "Wait," Kess cautioned. "Consider the source. Anonymous. Untraceable. This could be another trap. Get us to present unverifiable evidence, and further damage our credibility." Lyanna sank back into her chair. The general was right. Without context or confirmation, the footage was just another piece in a game they didn't fully understand. Her communicator chimed again, this time with an encoded message directly from Earth Command. "Colonial Defense Fleet reports weapons. Lock from assembly vessels, requesting permission to engage defensive protocols." The situation was escalating faster than anyone had anticipated. Assembly ships were taking aggressive postures around human colonies, potentially minutes away from open conflict. "We need more time," Lyanna murmured. Then, with sudden decision, "General, do we have any assets near the destroyed research station's location?" "The Hyperion is on patrol in that sector. Small, fast scout ship with enhanced sensor arrays. Direct them to conduct a full-spectrum scan of the debris field. If someone planted evidence to frame us, they might have left traces we can detect." While they waited for the Hyperion's report, news arrived that the Assembly had scheduled an emergency vote for the following day. A vote on authorizing military action to contain the human threat. "They're not even pretending anymore," Kess said bitterly. "This was the plan all along." Hours later, the Hyperion's findings arrived, encrypted to Lyanna's personal terminal. The scout ship had detected unusual radiation signatures in the debris, consistent with a specific type of explosive device. Not human technology, but Corvani. "This proves it," Kess said triumphantly. "We take this to the Council, clear our name, and they'll claim we falsified the data," Lyanna interrupted. "Or that we're trying to deflect blame. We need irrefutable proof, and we need to understand the full scope of what's happening." A plan began to form in her mind. Risky, potentially catastrophic if it failed, but perhaps their only option. "General, I need a secure line to the commander of our hidden fleet." The next 12 hours passed in a blur of preparation and tense waiting. Lyanna slept briefly, waking to news that 3 more Assembly warships had joined the blockade around humanity's most distant colony. Evacuations had begun, with civilian ships being escorted to safety by Earth's conventional defense forces. The hidden fleet remained undetected, holding position. When Lyanna entered the council chamber for the emergency session, she noted that armed security drones now hovered at intervals around the perimeter, an unprecedented breach of diplomatic protocol. The message was clear: humans were no longer trusted. Ambassador Rix stood at the central podium. His plumage flared in what his species considered a display of righteous indignation. "Esteemed representatives of the Galactic Assembly," he began, "we face a grave threat to our collective peace. The evidence against Earth is overwhelming, yet they continue to deny responsibility for an act of terrorism that claimed hundreds of innocent lives." He gestured dramatically, and holographic images appeared showing human ships taking up defensive positions around their colonies. "And now they mobilize their military forces, threatening Assembly peacekeepers with violence. I put forward that this aggressive species has no place among civilized peoples of the galaxy. The motion before us authorizes the Assembly Defense Force to neutralize the human threat and place their worlds under protective supervision." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Lyanna observed the representatives carefully. Most seemed resolved. A few uncomfortable but resigned. Only Terral and the Velen representative showed open skepticism. When Rix finished his impassioned speech, Lyanna stepped forward. She had discarded her formal diplomatic robes, instead wearing a simple Earth uniform, not military, but the standard attire of her planet's civil service. "Esteemed colleagues," she began, her voice steady despite the tension that filled the room. "For 10 years, humanity has walked among you as partners in peace. We have shared knowledge, resources, and vision for a united galaxy. Today, that vision stands on the precipice of destruction." She paused, meeting the gaze of each representative in turn. "You have seen evidence that appears to implicate Earth in a terrible crime. You have heard impassioned arguments about humanity's supposed duplicity. What you have not been given is the opportunity to question why. Why would a species that has everything to gain from peace suddenly commit an act of senseless violence?" Rix attempted to interrupt, but Lyanna continued, her voice rising slightly. "The truth is simpler and far more disturbing. Earth was framed for this attack because certain factions within the Assembly fear what we represent. A new perspective, a challenge to old power structures, a voice for genuine equity among all species. The chamber had grown quiet, all attention focused on her words. I could present counter-evidence showing Corvani technology was used in the station's destruction. I could reveal that Ambassador Rix himself has been meeting secretly with separatist factions in the Outer Rim. But you would have no reason to believe me over him. She straightened her shoulders. Instead, I offer this. In 1 hour, information will be transmitted to each of your secure channels, revealing the true orchestrators of this tragedy. I ask only that you wait to cast your votes until you have reviewed this data. Rix's plumage flattened in alarm. This is a transparent attempt to delay justice. The human ambassador offers vague promises of revelation while her government prepares for war. The arbiter intervened. The request for a brief delay is reasonable. This council will recess for 1 hour, then reconvene for final deliberation and voting. As the representatives filed out, Liana caught a glimpse of Rix, huddled with 2 other delegates, a Solari and a Halvorian. Their body language suggested urgent, worried conversation. In her chamber, Liana activated her secure terminal. Is everything in position? She asked General Kess, who had remained aboard their diplomatic vessel. Operation Truth Revealed is green across all parameters, Kess confirmed. The Valiant has identified the Corvani flagship and confirmed Rix's co-conspirators are aboard. Insertion team is ready. And if we're wrong, if there's no evidence to find? The general's expression remained confident. The intelligence is solid, Ambassador. The Corvani have been planning this for years, coordinating with sympathizers among the Solari and Halvorians to push humanity out of the Assembly and seize our colonial territories. They wouldn't have destroyed that station without keeping records of their success. Liana nodded. Proceed with the operation. And General, minimal force. We prove our case through precision and restraint, not overwhelming power. Thousands of kilometers above Viridia Prime, a section of seemingly empty space shimmered as a sleek vessel dropped its stealth field for a fraction of a second, just long enough to launch a small craft toward the massive Corvani flagship in high orbit. The insertion craft, designed for complete sensor invisibility, docked with the alien vessel using protocols stolen from Corvani military databases. A team of 6 human operatives, trained in zero-gravity combat and xenotech systems, entered the flagship. Their mission was clear: locate and extract evidence of the conspiracy without casualties. In the council chamber, the hour's delay had passed. Representatives returned to their positions, many looking confused or concerned. Rix appeared agitated, his plumage refusing to settle in its normal pattern. Before we proceed to voting, the arbiter announced, Ambassador Ross has requested 2 minutes to address the council. Liana stepped forward, her expression solemn. Esteemed colleagues, I promised you truth, and truth you shall have. At this moment, data packets are being transmitted to your secure channels. These contain internal communications from Ambassador Rix and his co-conspirators, detailing their plan to destroy Research Station Epsilon and frame humanity for the attack. Gasps and murmurs filled the chamber as representatives checked their devices. Rix surged forward. This is outrageous. These documents are clearly fabricated. I demand. He was interrupted by the chamber's main holographic display activating. It showed live footage from inside the Corvani flagship, specifically, a secure data center where human operatives were downloading files from the main computer core. What you are witnessing, Liana explained calmly, is a precision operation to retrieve the original plans for the station's destruction, plans still stored in Ambassador Rix's flagship computer systems. Chaos erupted in the chamber. Rix squawked in outrage. Several representatives called for security, and the arbiter chimed repeatedly for order. This is an act of war, Rix shrieked. The humans have attacked an assembly vessel. No, Liana countered. This is an act of justice. Our operatives have been instructed to use non-lethal methods only. No one on your vessel will be harmed. We seek only the truth you have tried so desperately to hide." On the display, one of the human operatives held up a data crystal. Transfer complete. Evidence secured. Another screen activated, showing a Corvani warship breaking formation and accelerating toward the position of the hidden human vessel that had launched the operation. "Ambassador Rix has just ordered his escort vessel to attack our ship," Liana announced. "An unprovoked act of aggression against a craft that has taken no hostile action." The Council watched in stunned silence as the Corvani warship fired energy weapons at an apparently empty section of space. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, like a phantom materializing from nowhere, a human vessel appeared, sleek, advanced. Unlike any ship design the assembly had seen before, the human vessel made no attempt to return fire. Instead, it executed a series of impossible maneuvers, evading the Corvani attack with almost contemptuous ease. "The Valiant could destroy that Corvani ship with a single volley," Liana said quietly. "Instead, it shows restraint. This is humanity's way, power held in check by moral principle." At that moment, the data retrieved by the operatives began flowing to the Council members' terminals. Documentation of the conspiracy unfolded before their eyes. Plans to destroy the research station, frame humanity, and ultimately seize Earth's colonial territories in the ensuing conflict. Rix, seeing his schemes exposed, made a desperate play. "These humans have hidden their true military capabilities from the Assembly for years. They possess a fleet that could threaten us all. This proves they cannot be trusted." Terrell, who had remained silent throughout the proceedings, finally spoke. "What it proves, Ambassador Rix, is that despite possessing such power, they chose diplomacy. They joined our assembly in good faith, shared their knowledge freely, and even now, when falsely accused, they show restraint." The ancient Atrian turned his massive form to face the Council. "It is not the possession of strength that determines character, but how one chooses to use it. Today, humanity has demonstrated both strength and wisdom." The mood in the chamber shifted palpably. Representatives who had been ready to vote for military action against Earth now looked at Rix with growing suspicion and anger. The Arbiter spoke. "In light of the evidence presented, this Council will suspend voting on the original motion and instead consider charges against Ambassador Rix and his co-conspirators for crimes against the Assembly." Security drones converged on Rix and the implicated Solari and Halvorian representatives. Rix's final act of defiance was to activate a concealed device on his wrist, a signal to his flagship. In orbit, the Corvani vessel suddenly turned its weapons on the human insertion team's extraction craft, which had just detached from the flagship. The small, unarmed vessel had no chance against the capital ship's primary weapons. Without hesitation, the Valiant moved to protect the extraction craft, placing itself between the vulnerable shuttle and the Corvani flagship. It absorbed the first barrage of weapons fire, its advanced shields flaring but holding. Then, with surgical precision, the human vessel fired a single shot, a concentrated beam that sliced through the Corvani flagship's weapon systems, disabling them without breaching the hull or threatening the crew. The entire exchange took less than 30 seconds and was visible to the stunned Council on the chamber's displays. "No casualties," General Kess reported through Liana's communicator. "Corvani flagship has been neutralized. Extraction team is returning with the evidence." In the aftermath, the truth emerged in full detail. The conspiracy had been years in the making, a plot by expansionist factions within 3 assembly species to eliminate humanity's growing influence and seize their resource-rich colonies. The research station had been destroyed because its work on new communication technology would have revealed unauthorized Corvani activities in neutral space. 2 days later, a subdued council met to ratify a new charter for the Assembly, one that acknowledged the reality of power while enshrining principles of restraint and transparency. Humanity's hidden fleet was officially recognized. No longer a secret, but a declared deterrent against future aggression. As the session concluded, Lyanna found herself approached by Tyrrell. The ancient Atrian regarded her with his crystalline eyes. "Your species has surprised us again, Ambassador Ross," he rumbled. "When forced to show your strength, you demonstrated not just power, but precision, not just capability, but compassion." "We've had long practice at making difficult choices," Lyanna replied. "Earth's history is filled with lessons about the cost of unbridled force. Some feared that when humans finally broke, when your famous patience reached its limit, you would unleash devastation. Instead, you showed us a new kind of strength." Later that evening, a solemn ceremony was held in the Assembly's Memorial Garden. Representatives of all species gathered to honor those lost in the research station's destruction. A flame was kindled, one that would burn continuously as a reminder of both tragedy and renewal. As Lyanna placed Earth's tribute among the others, she felt the weight of the past days lift slightly. Humanity's place among the stars had been challenged and then reaffirmed, not through domination, but through judicious action. Elder Tyrrell's words at the ceremony's conclusion echoed what many were thinking. No species could ever forget the day humans finally broke, not because of the power they revealed, but because of the power they chose not to use. In the soft light of the memorial flame, representatives of 12 worlds stood side by side, their shadows intermingling on the garden's stone floor, separate but united, diverse but aligned. A new understanding had been forged in crisis. Peace would continue, but with eyes open to both its fragility and its strength. As dawn broke over Viridia Prime the next morning, humanity's banner still hung in the Grand Council Hall, no longer the newest or the most questioned, but perhaps the most closely watched. For in revealing their hidden strength, humans had also revealed their true character. And that, more than any weapon or fleet, would shape their place among the stars for generations to come.